Thank you.
I would like to invite our esteemed panelists to join me. So we're all very excited to be with you in the next 3.5 hours. Okay, we'll cut it into 40 minutes. But so the way I wanted to start the conversation is instead of the normal introduction by our panelists, we'll try to do something fun before lunch, because I know we're going to try to keep your attention. So I would go around and have our panelists introduce themselves, what they do in their particular companies, but also to tell us if they do have the power, what would be their DBA, doing business as a superhero, and why. So we'll get into their insights. So let's start with men first.
You know, this is really fun doing these panels. When we were in London, where's Maggie Berry? Maggie, where are you? You're here, there. Here, lovely lady. Just really enjoy working with Maggie. You know, we did a panel, and the first thing that I talked about the night before, had a chance to, as I finished up my evening drink, which was just a coffee. I was watching the television, and I had to do a double take. I was looking at someone called Theresa May, had no idea who she was, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's Margaret Thatcher reincarnated. And she was wearing a red dress, just like Donald Trump's red tie. I thought they've already met, they got the problem solved. You know, if I just really talked about being a superhero, which is hard for me because it's always about everybody else, I'd think about originality and the idea of being a first. And that's one of the things we really like to be in this place is originality and being first. Don't worry about that. That's just my iPhone.
Is that your wallet?
Yeah,
that's pretty heavy.
My watch crystal. And I think about Superman, and you know, someone that was invented and noted to be one of the very first superheroes. And why Superman? Because if you think about all of the shows from the days of the original character, which was also a Reeves, and then Chris Reeves did it later, it was always about helping women out of their crises, right? So I really believe it's ladies first. I really don't believe chivalry is dead. I care a lot for my team, which is predominantly female, and I really care about this organization and advancing women around the world. So I think about Superman. And yeah, he does some really cool stuff. So
great. And by the way, this is Superman Mark Baxa from Monsanto. So let's go to Darlene.
Hi, I'm Darlene Fuller. I am with Supplier Diversity. I am responsible for the U.S. and Canada for Sodexo Supplier Diversity Department, and then I work with the rest of the world to support supplier diversity. So I'm on the kind of leadership team to help them move forward as a subject matter expert and nagger, I think, personally, is my job. My husband says I'm really good at it, so hey. I know, but when she asked me this, I'm like, I have 2 girls. I'm not in that whole superhero thing. So we're much more into the Disney movie things when my girls were growing up. So my favorite Disney character was Ariel, because I liked her because she sang so beautifully, and I always wished I could sing. And she lived her dreams, which I thought is just such a wonderful thing, and it's such a great thing for young women to think about. And even for us, it's like it's not too late for any of us. So that's my one.
Perfect. Thank you, Darlene. And I was going to sing this whole panel, so my accent will disappear.
Great, I can't wait.
Do you ever see that when people sing, they lose their accent, right? But
So, Meg Stowe from Intel, and I am the European, Middle East, and African Strategic Sourcing Director, as well as International Supplier Diversity Manager for Intel. So my superhero is Catwoman. And the reason for Catwoman is she's agile, she's quiet, and she achieves things really quickly, and she can claw her way around the problems and challenges. So
I thought maybe it was a lycra suit.
Maybe when I was 20. So there you go.
Great. Thank you for being a sport and doing that. So, if anybody has seen the business case that just went out, you probably got the teaser, executive summary outside, but please do take the time to read. And just to give you an insight, we're looking to include this in our diversity steering committee as a pre-read for our CEO and all his executive committees under him. So it's really a powerful piece. So I wanted to start with the question on, to set the perspective on how mature is your global supplier diversity initiatives, and also how many countries are you involved with currently? So we can start with Meg, Catwoman.
I'm wearing the scarf to go with it. So I would say ours is fairly mature, but I don't think in the international space you could ever say you are very mature. It is so different in every single market. We count our spends when they are certified only. So we are in 17 countries where there are certification programs. And then we are in another probably 15 to 20 where there are no certification programs. I would say, we look at tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 2 is always fun. And it's been a great journey because, first of all, people, when we first started out, and we started out as our pilot in India, people didn't know what supplier diversity was. And I remember even in the UK, women-owned businesses saying, but why would I want to tell you I'm a women-owned business? I want to win it on merit. And it's like, well, you're going to do that, but this is getting us to know who you are for a start. So I think the international space for us is a great journey and a great challenge. Are we very, very mature? No. And I think it's going to be an ongoing challenge because every country is different when it comes to supply diversity.
Well, for us, it's like, we had a supplier diversity program in some countries like Australia, Australia, Canada, the UK for a number of years. But then we did not really commit to trying to do supplier diversity global till the end of 2014. And we made the commitment, our executive team, we were very lucky, they talked about our Better Tomorrow plan and decided to make the commitment to supplier diversity because it supports the local communities. And so then we began starting that program. But it's difficult for us because we do not have central procurement. We're in 80 countries around the world. We have procurement people in almost every country or every region. And we have them broken up into 8 regions around the world. And those regions, they each, they have a steering committee of procurement people. And when they meet, they talk about, what are the issues that they have to talk about is supplier diversity, how they're moving forward, what they're doing. So it kind of helps to hold them accountable. But we started, and we made a commitment that we wanted to be in 40 countries by the end of 2017. And we just finished our tracking for last year. And we're in 39 countries, but that's of different levels. Like some countries are tracking, actually tracking and doing vendors. Some countries are just educating their supply team and understanding how to do that. Some people are tracking just SMEs, small, medium-sized businesses, which is also part of that commitment. So they're different places along the journey, but they're moving forward, and they have to report that.
Congratulations, though. That's a good feat to have. Mark?
Sure, and I'm remiss, I didn't tell everybody what my role was at Monsanto. I lead our strategic sourcing enabling areas of global procurement, and that includes supplier diversity, sustainability, our strategic sourcing practice, supplier relationship management, and I also oversee our collegiate talent pipeline processes for the supply chain. So it's a multifaceted role. A lot of human interactions, so you can see why it all links back to diversity and inclusion. Our process for global began back in late 2013, early 2014. We have a over 40-year history in the United States, but when we took a look at how we were going to identify with our corporate strategy around inclusion and diversity from an internal perspective and take that further external around the world, include that into our value statement around how procurement contributes to expanding our societal footprint and the value we bring to society around the world. This became paramount for us, and we began to resource it. Similar to the comment that was made earlier by the gentleman from Facebook, our team is very, very lean, but have really great people, and Brenda Cockrell leads our global supplier diversity footprint everywhere outside of the US. So we're about 3.5 years into it. We've taken a very aggressive approach to it. We've linked our category managers in all 4 regions around the world. And in some cases, we've gone into incremental countries. So I think about Brenda and your team, we probably have about 15 people from around the world. A couple of countries have more than one that are actually on our network that facilitate the supplier diversity work around the world. That's in addition to their regular day jobs, so they're champions. The full-time employment in full-time dedication is in our corporate headquarters in St. Louis, and again, that would be Brenda, and she has a peer for the US. In terms of the number of countries we actually procure with women-owned businesses or diverse suppliers, I don't know that I could really give you a specific number, and the reason is we're at various stages. So in some cases, we're inviting suppliers right now as we speak to RFPs. Some we've already executed. From a regional perspective, though, and thinking about where we actually source from, it's probably easy to say that we're in the 20 to 30 range country count, but we are represented in all of our regions around the world, and they're connected again through our Global Procurement Diversity Network.
That's great. So I've read that according to the Hackett Group, more than 75% of the current supplier diversity programs are local only. So think about that. It's only 75%. It's only 25% or so that are actually extending to a global supplier diversity. But the one good thing about that data that they also found is that 40% of those companies are looking to expand globally within the next 2 to 3 years. So that is a silver lining in that research study. So I wanted to go and focus about how are you able to present, a business case for your company? Do you have to quote an internal or an external push? Talk a little bit about that. And then as a follow-up to that, can you kind of expand on whether that business case is different from, every country that you go to? Does it vary? We can start with Darlene.
Well, first of all, when we had to get together actually a group to decide our program and what we were going to track. And so, the executive said, okay, we want to do this. It's important to support the community. So we had a group that got together to try to figure out what we're going to do. And it included operations people. It included people from procurement from different countries. It included people from sustainability and different other corporate staff, HR, things like that. And then we talked about it, and everybody it's all interesting. Everybody wants to get their things to the top of the list. So it's, so it was an interesting process because, so we actually decided on that we're supporting SMEs, small, medium-sized businesses, to grow around the world. We're also to support and grow minority. I mean, I can't say minority because the people got really wigged out about that. It was like unbelievable. So it says underrepresented group as defined by country and women-owned businesses. So to grow that. So it was women. So a lot of people actually, a lot of countries are focusing on women to begin with because they could hardly, like we were trying to talk to, we were having these calls, and I could hardly get them off the subject because I hadn't done all my research, I must admit, to see, well, this country they can't ask and this and that. So I kind of just stopped that, and I said underrepresented groups and started with women. I said, okay, let's just do women. So, because they're, that's easy to define that.
That's a good entry point.
Right, and then we tried to put into our code of conduct and our vendors to try to have it be important that they support diversity and inclusion and to kind of change and beef up. And we included some stuff on how people were treated or how employees are treated and people in the community. We try to include all those things, including the supplier diversity piece, in that our code of conduct to try to beef that up and have training programs for that. So we kind of started at that, and then was like our main thing. And then, like I said, we made the mistake of our one thing was with 40 people. We said, oh, we're going to do 40 countries, and we sent it out to procurement. We're like, okay, we want to do this. And the first year, it's just like kids. Like, no, you think, okay, everybody's going to do it because they're going to really believe in it. Well, only 14 countries did it because it's like they were waiting because they were keeping their hand down, trying to hide behind somebody else. But so then we got smart and actually assigned which countries we're going to have to had to go each year, which has actually helped us to move forward. So that's a big thing. So if you're trying to do stuff, you have to assign people. Don't wait for people to volunteer.
So a more directed approach.
Right, exactly.
That's good. How about in Intel?
So we started very similarly. We decided we've been doing this in the US for a long time. Why not go out? And actually, I'd just come back from maternity leave, and my manager said, "You did sustainability so well. I'm giving you this problem." And I was like, "Thank you." And it's been great. Having grown up in Africa, I grew up in a very diverse and, in some cases, not understanding as a child why my best friend couldn't get on a train the same carriage as me. So I've always seen this what's the lack of, I've lost my wording now. I've seen this discrimination, as fact it is, right? So it was really close to my heart. So what we did is we got HR involved, we got global diversity involved, and we put everything together. And then our CEO is a big advocate for diversity and inclusion. And he made a big announcement at one of the events, the computer technology events, to say, we are going to really look. Tech companies are rubbish at diversity and inclusion, right? So what they are now doing is they're bringing about, by the year 2020, we're going to have parity with market availability internally with both underrepresented and women. He then looked at another pillar. We've got Intel Capital, so investing in diverse businesses. Looked at supplier diversity. And there are a number of other categories as well that we are looking at. With supplier diversity, at the time we were spending, I want to say, Clay, you help me out here, but it was about $100 million with diverse suppliers globally. And he said, okay, by the year 2020, I want to see us spending at least $1 billion globally with diverse suppliers. So we've taken that on board, and we've done really well. And last year we spent $550 million. And when I look at the international space, we are now spending more than the whole corporation was internationally when we started. So we've made huge impact there. So with that, and I think with having the CEO push down, and we're in procurement, us pushing up, it has helped phenomenally. One of the other interesting things, everybody knows money talks, right? So we have something called a challenge bet for the procurement operations team, so right across. And if we hit a stretch goal towards our annual goals, every employee in that organization gets $1,000. So money talks, right?
That's in US dollars, right? Not in the local currency?
When it comes to UK, but it's still good. It's extra, right? So that is something that we've done and we continue to do. So having that process of starting, and we also started in one country. We didn't say we're going to go and boil the ocean. We started in India. We had an amazing India Intel president she was very much behind this. And from lessons learned there, we've now proliferated out. And we are active in those 17 countries as well as doing others as well. And watch the space. We're going to keep moving. We've just done Germany. Well, we did Germany last year. Japan and Taiwan are next on the agenda.
So in the culture of Monsanto, it really began with not only our history, as Meg has indicated, around our presence in the U.S. from a supplier diversity perspective. It was really hand in glove with our diversity and inclusion culture and the leadership and our MAC and what we call our MAC Diversity Inclusion Leadership Team, which is chaired by our CEO, Hugh Grant. So it fits really in the whole model. And we knew inside of procurement that we could broaden the base of often overlooked suppliers. We really liked the idea of having a woman-owned certifying body with WEConnect International, very similar to Pam's leadership with WeBank, and we knew we could endorse that globally. So, you know, when you make a proposal, be careful what you ask for, you might get it, right? And we've all been there, whether we're advocating for huge sums of capital to invest in infrastructure, software, whatever it may be, and it's just like that. We made the plan. Teresa helped us. We benchmarked with everybody that we knew of, just who had the strength in US, who had already gone global. We got our platform ready, and it was a very, very quick sell because we had the endorsement of our CPO, who also sits on the MAC Diversity Inclusion Council. So that was our inroad in, right? Then we enlisted the folks in WEConnect. We got with Elizabeth and namely Michael. We started advocating, created a team structure. For our company, we love networks because it's a way to engage employees and challenge them outside of the, if you will, the limited boundaries, or they may see it the limited boundaries of their existing role, get them internal exposure by doing other things, especially global. So we found the right people in the regions, aligned them, had Michael help us explain several times, not just once. You got to hear it a couple times, maybe 3, really about the value of supplier diversity, and we began then moving forward and then started putting some standards in place around linking up with the regional boards within WEConnect, and also then starting to think about how you're tracking your progress against events, suppliers you're inviting to RFPs, and we're really focused globally predominantly on Tier 1, but we're about to start a Tier 2 effort. So that's been our journey, but that's the front end of it and how we got it started. It's also a great fit from a supplier relationship management perspective, not only broadening our portfolio, but it challenges our category managers to think in unique dimensions. And everything that's been said already on the panel, we experience. You go to Europe and say, we have plenty of diversity here. We've even had one of our largest woman-owned suppliers in Europe say, not so sure about this because I'm fine competing with male-led organizations. I've done really well on my own. I'm really not interested. So it's a unique culture. We're not winning everywhere, but we'll eventually get there.
That's great insight. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about, we talk about how to obtain senior leadership, and it looks like each and every one of you had that great traction, starting with your C-suite. Now, how do you share that support that you gain from the top, and how do you incorporate that to the middle management, to the ones that are actually going to be your advocates in the different countries?
Okay, I'm like, okay. We're very lucky because like I said, each country has their own procurement people, and they have that objective that they have to hit. But we're very lucky because it's not just them helping them. There's people in diversity inclusion people that are willing to help. We also have gotten, because we're on a lot of the vendors that we deal with are food vendors to support our units. So we've got a lot of help from our sustainability teams to really help to grow and to look for those vendors and to help those vendors, because some of the vendors on the food side are not that big, not that sophisticated. I mean, we had a vendor that she could make product that was very good, but she could only support like 1 unit. So it's like, but she knew other people that could do the same. They could also provide honey and do different things. So she got her whole community to grow, have more bees, so they can, produce more honey, so that you could actually support a number of units within our company. So sustainability, sometimes the big thing is, like, everybody wants to help in the community. So when they find these different things, I mean, especially other countries, been very good at people in sustainability, reaching out to people in the field at their account, they'll see what they can do to help that person. It's and in Sodexo, you actually get points. That's wonderful. Just like the whole money thing, you get points for engagement. So on your performance plan, there's diversity. There's also if you're a bonus eligible employee, there's diversity and inclusion goals for a workforce. There's supplier diversity is not yet there. We're hopefully to do that like we do in the U.S. and Canada, where they have supplier diversity goals, but they have engagement with diversity. So that could be workforce, that could be helping a diverse vendor to grow, to introduce them. So those kind of things really, count to help people move forward.
So we try and have in the key countries around the world that Intel works in a key sponsor. So very senior executive-led sponsor to push that down within their own country. So you're getting the CEO pushing it, you're getting procurement moaning at you, you've got to do it from this way, and you're getting your in-country. Besides that, without WEConnect, it would be very difficult to find the vendors. And it's been phenomenal. If we have somebody, I'll phone up Maggie or we'll phone up Jean and we'll go, help, we need a supplier in this area, find it. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So that's another way we introduce them. We also do a lot of workshops where we introduce the buyers to suppliers, and we also give education to some of those suppliers, which helps us, especially in South Africa, bring up our BEE score. So there are a number of different ways that we do that.
So starting with leadership from the top, that it was very important, but really the success in bringing people along is sharing the wins and trying to understand what matters most within our category teams around the globe. Because, when we're having our conversations with them, they're thinking about supplier diversity. When we let them go, we're not sure. So having an organization like WEConnect behind that, let me back up a step. It's not about because it comes from the top, you should do it. Mm-hmm. It's the endorsement from the top is great so that when I do it, I know it finds favor with the leadership of the company. So telling the story, giving the examples, explaining that it's part of our whole sustainability platform by strengthening local economies, and at the same time, believe it or not, by engaging women-owned suppliers. Often the costs are more favorable, they're leaner organizations, they don't have the overhead, and they bring innovation that hasn't been seen or a way to do business that hasn't been seen before. It's a very, very different idea that's brought to the table. And then taking those successes and syndicating them throughout the organization. The other thing I think that's been really unique, and I'm going to kind of talk about Brenda for a minute. The more exposure you can bring, not just those in charge of supplier diversity, but the folks that are really engaging category managers or commodity managers to employ diverse suppliers to these kind of meetings, you increase your uptake. So not everybody around the world, I talked about our champions and our network, not everybody can travel here to see these events, okay? So within the network, 2 creative things I've seen happen that Brenda has done. One is she brings a new, diverse, women-owned business supplier to each monthly network via WebEx to explain and talk about their business and their products. So she's introducing new suppliers, certified suppliers within WEConnect to our category teams around the world through that mechanism. The other is that we're ensuring the touch point that now that we've done that, we're making sure you're using the list of available suppliers in the categories that are represented by WEConnect. So it's a 2-prong approach. But the idea that it's endorsed at the top is merely a stamp on an envelope. And I don't want to minimize the leadership of our company. I wouldn't do that. But you can't force it down. You got to bring it up. It's got to come from inside the DNA. And you got to look for people that are winning and have them share their wins. So that's kind of our success story. The other thing I want to mention, though, that is really also endorsed is that we invest beyond just the limits of our day-to-day business when it comes to supplier diversity. And by that, what I mean is we created a couple of years ago a supplier diversity mentoring program where we bring in those suppliers compete, and they do not have to be existing suppliers of Monsanto, to compete to go through a 11-month, month-by-month indoctrination. And I know there are other available tools like that, but we wanted to bring people closer to us. We wanted to create advocacy and connection to Monsanto. Now we're taking that, we've done it 2 years in a row in the US, and now we're taking it to Brazil. So that's another area of opportunity for us, is to do it globally and do it in a larger way.
Thank you. So great insights from our panelists, really change champions within their companies to bring their supplier diversity programs into the next level. But before we open it up to questions from the audience, I'd like to give each and every one of you a chance to at least highlight one success and also the biggest challenge you've had in expanding your program internationally. So I'd like to start with, what's your kryptonite, Superman over here?
That's impressive. You know, I've never been asked to, never mind. I would say that the trigger for success has been the real intentionality of other leaders like us on the stage in the companies that are represented here that have been supporters of WEConnect. And I want to pay tribute to individuals like Denise from Marriott, who helped us and pay it forward. And I'll do the same, Brenda will do the same, we'll do the same for anybody that's interested in finding out how we did it and what we can do to help you be successful, because the bigger we make this universe, the more we all will benefit. This is a non-competitive environment. So I don't care if you're using the same contingent labor supplier that I'm using in Holland. You make them bigger and stronger, that's better for everybody. It's less risk for us and for you because of their business sustainability. The hard journey is just, it is a function that is not blessed with a lot of resources still today for us. So we look for a lot of advocacy and networks. So that's an area of opportunity. And Brenda, I'm working on it. So trying to get there, get you some help.
Thank you. Parting thoughts?
I think, to your point, I think by all of us sharing, we're not reinventing a wheel, as well as sharing really cool suppliers that you work with. Because if they can work with you guys, they can work with us, right? So there's no reason, and that's going to push the spending with women-owned businesses and diverse suppliers a lot more. I think also the other thing is really seeing the passion and the, once something works and you see the innovation that a women-owned businesses bring and the cost reduction of most of the times, seeing the people who brought them in just go, wow, this is so cool. And then sharing that, right? So and it moves on and on. Challenges, I think, every country is different around the world. And, you know, sometimes we were about to go into a country with minority and then we got slapped over the wrist from privacy and all those things. So take those risks. It's, what's the worst that can happen besides getting your company in a lawsuit? But you know, try it and then obviously check your risks first. But I think those are the things. Every country is different and has its own challenges, and I think that's where I'd say keep working.
Close us out here.
Okay, yeah, between me and lunch, huh? I'd say like our two biggest things for us that have like helped us internally with our people, we actually share best, when we have our global procurement meeting, they share best practices of different things that they do. And, you know, all those people are high level people, so they all want to one up each other. So they, like we've had like where they've done like the procurement, you know, mentoring people, and other people have taken up that idea. Also, because some of the vendors are really not that large, so but they've made a difference in the community. So we actually have a site where we people can put in their story and post that story of what they do, and how they affected that community, since it's a big thing for us. And then they could be highlighted in the newsletter, and then you could be voted to be a star of Sodexo, and you get money for that. Another thing, it's always about the money, but so but you know how people like to be. So that's really helped us to create moving the thing forward. So
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So before we finally close, I'd like to open up the floor for any questions, not including what's in the menu. We can't answer that here right now for lunch, but if there's any question, yes, please.
I have a question for Mark. What are the components, briefly, of your 18-month mentoring program? Can you just kind of give a brief description of what it entails?
Absolutely. So we RFP the process where we invite any supplier that's interested in this case, we'll just talk about the United States. In our U.S. program, we had over, I think, 400 applicants last time. The first time we did it, there were 80, so it's growing by leaps and bounds. So we take them through the formal RFP process. We sort it down. We come together as a leadership with the final recommendation that's simply coming forward by our two supplier diversity leads. They come in, they get the introduction meeting, welcoming. We do excuse me, we do a quick SRM activity with them to kind of figure out their business strengths and limitations. And then we take them all the way through finance, operations, manufacturing. We take them through HR, marketing, social media. So if you think about all the business functions, we introduce them to all of our internal concepts. Our slides even say Monsanto Confidential. That's the level of intensity and depth that we take them through. So we're teaching them business processes. We're not teaching them about our company. We do that first, right? So that's our approach. And then we graduate them at the very end. And that's a very high level meeting.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Nick Bramley, we're a certified weebie. We could be described as professionally relentless, I think might be the way we would describe ourselves. We're doing some great work and getting some great traction with Mark and Brenda and Megan and the team at Intel. You're definitely on our radar for Sodexo next.
What do you do?
We're doing all the technology for the conference here today. However, the question is about the fact that you have to be relentless and you have to chase and continue to probe and push and get some help. How many of your weebies, because we speak to quite a few of them, who seem to lose that power to do that, to sort of, they get to the front gate and then they don't quite get over the line and then stop doing it? You know, what's your dropout rate for good conversations that go into, you know, let's do something with this? Because, as I say, being relentless is a skill, and not everybody's as relentless as that. We hear a few drop-offs, and it's a bit of a shame sometimes.
It's like professional sports. We all start in Little League, and then we get up and we try to make the pros. So it does narrow to the top. I mean, that's a fact, because there's only so many RFPs and business opportunities. But never, ever, ever give up, and keep working a broad base of companies, because you'll never know when you'll hit. But always remember, it's not about why you're better. It's what value you can add that meets the business, right? Just keep doing that. Keep getting good at it.
I also think you can't come into a big corporation and expect the first time you speak to them you're going to get the business, right? That's not going to happen. It does take a few years to get there, because that's just the way the business works, right? And eventually you will. So don't give up. But remember, it does taper up, and you don't always have to do direct business with us. Look at our tier ones as well, right?
That's right. Yep, exactly.
I think we have one more,
Yep.
probably.
Paul Chakraborty, I'm a Caterpillar, and we're relatively new to this forum, so thank you. My question is, and some of you brought this up, is pulling ideas, pulling the supply base. We're half of our global revenue is outside the United States. We are extremely immature at best in our global supplier diversity program outside of the U.S. So we're very, very interested to learn more about who you're doing business with outside the U.S., and even more interested in turning what the global requirements are, local content, et cetera, et cetera. So my question is, in the age of big data, how do we make this more efficient? If you're doing business with some companies out there, in Holland, you brought up an example, but we've got people in Holland. How do we share this knowledge? I don't think it's a competitive environment, to your point, and I think we can get some real gains if we start leveraging this.
I think we need to ask them to get either self-certified or certified by WEConnect, and then everybody can find them.
Exactly, I agree. I think that's what we do with all of our suppliers. Go and get self-certified, go and get certified. We prefer them to get certified, because then we can count their spends towards our goal. But that is the way forward. And really, if you need help, we're all here to help you. You sitting at the table with me, so we can have a chat.
Right.
So,
Let me just close with a shameless plug, though. If you're thinking about membership or participation in WEConnect, you will be amazed when you get inside what the leaders in this organization can do to answer a lot of those questions to begin with and get you pointed in the right direction. I'll tell you this much: we've never had them have this organization oversell us on a supplier's capability. So it's really about integrity. You've got it here. This is the place to begin. And syndicating women-owned business is not only a non-competitive piece for all of us, but it's a safe place to start in nearly every country around the world in terms of saying this is the diverse class of suppliers we're going to start with, because then you get at the country level, which is a little trickier. But start by putting your membership here, and you'll be surprised.
No, I agree. And the network is really very helpful. So please join me in thanking our Superman, Catwoman, Ariel. They're going back to their own stuff now. And great insights. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, so
And you
thank
can ask me at lunchtime what my real hero is. You have to talk to me at lunchtime.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Estrella, and everyone. I wanted to just expound a little bit more about the Global Business Case report that was recently produced. So we collaborated with CAMSI, with MSD UK, with the USBLN, and WeBank, and it's really important to know that this is something that has not been done in over 10 years. So this is new information that I hope you will find very helpful in terms of putting the facts together and selling it internally and externally within your organization. And we really appreciate your feedback as you take time over the next month or so to look at the data and information. Let us know what you think about it, because the plan was to have this audience addressed for the U.S. multinational C-suites. Once we get your feedback, then we're looking in the future to do it with a lens of Asia, then a lens of Latin America, then a lens of Europe, because everybody has a different perception of what supplier diversity and inclusion is all about in their particular geography. So thank you for that. And I also wanted to mention we're going to get ready to break for lunch. Worldwide Pictures, who is handling our AV and telecommunications, and also so that the virtual attendees can participate. We thank them, and you'll be hearing just a few minutes from them during our lunch. And also for the virtual people that are watching, we're going to take a break from now until 1:30 Eastern Time. So we'll catch up back with you